welcome to the WiseTake DFS Podcast. I am your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. Joined here by two of our best NFL contributors over at WiseTake.com. We got our boy, writer of our narrative article, V for Vendetta, talks about all the NFL narratives going into the latest NFL week. Talking about Slim Gaede. You can find him on Twitter at RealSlimGaede. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Looking to crush it again this weekend. So 6 in a row.
Let's do it.
Just killing it, man.
Let's do it. Stay hot, Mr. Gaede. Stay hot. Also, of course, joined. Gotta fix this here. Also here, joined by DFS professional, also WiseTake contributor, NFL and NBA specialist, Johnny the Greek. You can find him on Twitter at GDaddy80. Johnny, how we doing, my man?
Man, I'm tilting from basketball tonight, but let's look at this football slate. Let me take my mind off this basketball slate.
We're gonna take your mind off of it, and we're gonna look ahead. We're gonna look at not even to tomorrow, because tomorrow's already here. We did our Thanksgiving content, Johnny. We did some stuff with lineup reviews, and we did all kinds of stuff here at the Nation to provide coverage for Thanksgiving. We also have a Wise stream for premium members only. I recommend you guys head over to WiseTake.com and sign up. We have a free week trial if you sign up for the monthly option. You have 7 days to cancel if you're not satisfied. You'll never be charged in the 7 days as long as you cancel. And I have a feeling that once you're in there, you're going to see how useful it is. You're going to see the value, and you're going to stay anyway and end up coming aboard because it's really not all that bad anyway. With that said, we will be doing a Wise stream for members only. Myself, Patio Joe, and Paulie D at about 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern to provide further coverage for the Thanksgiving slate. But this is not about Thanksgiving. This is all about the Sunday slate coming up. We still got that coming up. It's right around the corner. As soon as Thanksgiving is over, there it is. It's staring you right at the end of the weekend. So we want to make sure that we get the nation's mind, do a little work for them so they can watch this and get a head start on the research. So I'm going to open it up to you guys. Gaede, I'm going to ask you first. Have you looked at the slate at all? What are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I've looked at it a little bit. Honestly, I've been looking at tomorrow stuff a lot, trying to get that all figured out. My ass will be on the road in the morning, so got to get stuff done tonight. But overall thoughts, there's some bad games. There's just some games that you're going to want to stay away from. It just, honestly, to me, doesn't look like it's going to be all that hard for cash games. I think most of the plays are staring you in the face. So maybe the running back spot could be a little tricky. But other than that, man, I could probably build you a cash lineup in 2 minutes and probably cash with it. That's just how I feel right now.
Fire. Johnny the Greek, what about you, my man?
Yeah, I'm in the kind of same boat. I'm really focusing on tomorrow because it's such a different slate. Normally, I fade the Thursday games and just play the weekend, but we don't really have that option this week. We have 3 really, really good games on Thursday, so I've been really focusing on my efforts into that. So this is a glance for me. I've looked at this a little bit, and I have some great ideas here. And again, there are some landmine games out here. Looking at the spreads and looking at the matchups, but there are also some games that have a really low spread, but I still think there's some great plays in some of those games. So I think there's some great options this week. I think it's a good slate. There's definitely some differential plays out there, and there's definitely some great quarterback plays that we're going to probably get into right in a second here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a perfect transition for us here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get started with some quarterbacks here. We're going to go position by position as usual. Quarterbacks up first, is obviously. Johnny, I'm going to start with you, and then we're going to have Gaede follow up, all right?
Sure.
Start us off.
Yeah, so at the top here, I always like Tom Brady. It's a no-brainer. He's 7,700. He's too cheap against Miami. I think if they're going to blow Miami out, I don't think he's a great tournament option. I think he'll be low owned because of his price. But guys that I'm more interested down here, I definitely like Carson Wentz, but I think my number one guy to start this week off is going to be Russ Wilson. Just looking at what he did this past week, looking at the matchup against San Francisco, he is the running game right now. So first glance, he's definitely looking like my number one guy.
Okay. I like it. Gaede, what about you, man? Anything to say?
Yeah, man. It's about Brady for me again, just like it was last week. He's like, oh, where are they going to blow him out, right? Okay, we can all agree with that. But how are they going to get ahead enough to blow him out? They don't care about running the ball. New England's not running the ball at all. Brady's going to throw it all over the field. He's going to get you 25. Um, Easiest cash game play for me if you can afford him. Obviously, a little easier on FanDuel to do that than on DK. I would say Russell Wilson's my number 2 guy. The only thing I'm a little worried about is, the Niners are bad. We know that. But it is a rivalry game. The Niners almost beat them in Seattle the first time. I think Wilson only had like 15 in that game. Maybe that doesn't mean anything, but it is a rivalry game. And since I'm a Niners fan, I'm not playing Russell Wilson because I'm like that. I do like on FanDuel, I like Matt Ryan down there. Like, you got to scroll long ways to find him as a tournament option. I do like Andy Dalton also against Cleveland as a tournament option. He's at like 7-2. Mostly, like, I'm a cash game player mostly, but I'll build a couple other lines with those other quarterbacks in there to try to get some value from them.
Okay. I'm with it. So there's a couple guys that I'd like to ask you guys about, or at least situations. Johnny, I'm going to start with you. Talk to me about this New Orleans Rams. I'm specifically talking about Drew Brees and Jared Goff. These are two teams that have potential, obviously, to be very potent offenses, but they seem to only really be able to do it against bad defenses, or in Drew Brees' case, at home. Johnny, what are your thoughts on this game overall? First look, your first initial thoughts. I know you haven't looked into it too much yet, but when I first give you that game, what are you thinking?
I think it's going to be a shootout. I think New Orleans is really not passing the ball a lot. They're definitely running the ball. So it's. I think the spread's closer than it should be in this game. I think New Orleans is going to win this game. I think that Goff can put up a big game. The question is who he's going to throw the ball to. That's the big question that I have. But I think Gurley will be involved in this game. The way you beat New Orleans is through running backs, but passing running backs. Their defense has been pretty good, and you can beat them, through the slot. So, maybe, Cooper Kupp might be in play. So I like that game. It's got a really high total. And I think there's a lot of options there in play.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, there was one other thing that stand out. Now now Gaede, I want to hear your thoughts on this game as well, and then after that, I got one other guy I want to ask you both about.
Cool.
Yeah, man, I got a lot of interest in this one. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of the best games on the board. Obviously, it's an important game. I look at it, it's pretty even across the board, but you got to look at the quarterbacks here. I mean, you got to trust Drew Brees a little bit more. Like, I'm not all that interested in either of these guys as a play. The Rams, really the only guy I'd be interested in is Gurley because, like Johnny said, you don't know who's going to be catching the ball this week. So that's kind of tricky for me, and I don't like targeting good defenses, and the Saints are a good defense. The Rams are a pretty good defense, but I'm looking at the running back spot for the Saints. They are a running team, but they also proved last week that Brees can win the game if he has to. So I have a ton of interest in Ingram and Kamara. I really don't care how much they cost, but I actually think if I'm going to play them, I'm going to play them together, just like last week, because together they're the best fantasy player that we have.
Yeah, understood. All right, last guy I'm going to ask you about. This is the guy that kind of popped out to me initially, my first look. I want you guys to talk to me about Marcus Mariota. I like the rushing touchdown upside he's got. He's on the road against Indianapolis. His defense hasn't been all that great, so I do think there is a shot that Brissett could keep this close here with some of his weapons like Hilton, all those guys. Talk to me about your thoughts on Mariota. Johnny, you first, and then Gaede, you follow up right after.
Yeah, this is they had this game at home in week 6, and Marcus Mariota put up 18 points. He wasn't 100% in that game. he wasn't as mobile as he is right now, so he's looking a lot better. I think that he is a good tournament option. I don't think he's safe in cash, but I think he's a good tournament option. And so, yeah, I'm fine with you guys using him. The only problem that we have with this matchup is who to pair him with. Mm-hmm. And a lot of tournament players are always looking to handcuff him. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of Delaney Walker. I think there's better options out there. I think he's okay, but he's really inconsistent, and so are all of his other options there. So I don't know if Davis is going to play this week, but if he's not going to play, I might not have any exposure to Mariota because I don't think Mariota as a naked play is a good option.
Gotcha. Gaede, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I got nothing for him, man. I'm just trying to be honest. Like, I watched that game the other night, and he just looks like shit. Like, he can make some big plays and some nice plays for you, but I don't think he can read a defense worth a damn, to be quite honest. He never had to do it in college, and I don't see him doing it. Like, he makes really poor decisions. And in terms of DFS play, like, if I'm playing on FanDuel, I'm sitting here paying 7-8 for Mariota. You got Matt Ryan's cheaper than that. I like the other side. If you want to play this game, because I think there's a lot of value in this game, especially in tournaments. I love this game. But I think Brissett is the same guy as Mariota at a lot cheaper price.
He's injured, though. That's his only problem.
Yeah, he was concussion, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be playing. So if he's playing, I'm not worried. I love him in tournaments. He's at 6,900 on FanDuel. I trust him more. I think I know what I'm going to get. Mariota hasn't scored 20 FanDuel points yet this year. Got nothing for him.
Okay, fair enough. Patio Joe's actually in the chat, and he wanted me to mention there's no Lattimore this week for the Saints, so that's something I forgot to keep in mind. He's a big difference maker.
Is he out or is he questionable?
I don't know. Joe just says no Lattimore this week. I'll look it up as we go along. In the meantime, Johnny, you want to get us started with running backs?
Absolutely. So my only problem with getting back to the Lattimore issue is that with the news with Woods, do you trust Sammy Watkins? That's kind of the problem I have. I don't trust him.
Well, couldn't you I have no problem pairing Goff with Gurley. I have no, especially against the Saints. I have no issue with that. I could pair those guys. There's enough passing upside, I think, there. So that takes, if you want to do a double stack, that takes one receiver out of the equation. You still have to make that decision between guys like Cooper Kupp or Watkins. So it's not an easy, it's rough. You're right. Can he be the guy? But I think if Lattimore is out, I think that definitely opens up the options to where you can take a chance with those guys. But either way, if I'm playing Goff, I think I'd play with Gurley with him, honestly, at this point, just because I feel like, especially with the with the Woods news, you could see more passing targets anyway.
And that game, I think, would be interesting. This might sound weird, but I really like the double stack with the running back with Kamara and with Ingram. But I also think if you could get Gurley in there and you can, in your flex or something on DraftKings, and you can get all three of those guys in there and find a way to get some cheap, good exposure to some wide receivers, that might make a great correlation play. I know it sounds a little off the wall, and it's a lot of money for running backs, but that might be a real big difference maker this week.
I could see it. Talk to us about the other running backs you like.
Sure. So let's take a look here. Wow, Gurley 8,800. That's a big price tag, but again, he's the workhorse there. Ingram, he went up a little bit. He's at 8,300. I like Ingram. I'm not really big on Colt McCoy this week. I'm sorry, on LaShawn McCoy this week. LaShawn McCoy this week against Kansas City. I just don't think that they bring enough to the table. I think Kansas City can stack the box. I'm not saying it was a great pickup, but they did get a little deeper at corner today. Let's see. I'm not a Fournette fan, but Fournette could definitely have a good game here. The only thing, again, that I've been preaching the last couple of weeks, Fournette is only good if he breaks off a long run, and he hasn't had a big long run in the last couple of weeks. So, he needs that big run to get him to value. And at $8,100, I think he's really expensive. So I don't know if I'm going to play that, but it's a possibility.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Slim Gaede, what you got here on running backs first look? I think Mr. Gaede is frozen.
Do you want me to go down until he checks back in?
Yeah, that
go
sounds
down.
Like
okay,
sounds like a plan.
Okay. I like Kareem Hunt against Buffalo. I just don't like the way they're using him right now. I think he's a great talent. I just think they're really misusing him. So
that's a good call. I like what you said there, Johnny. I like Gurley. He is.
I'm pretty sure this is coming back from a delay. Like I think he said this like
still here.
There we go.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
All right, Slim, go ahead and take it over, man. You were on a delay, so whatever you said like 2 minutes ago, it just came through like as Johnny was talking.
It's getting out of control, man. This is
we got robots over here. Yeah?
We got robots over here. All right,
we're losing it quick.
What do you think?
So I do have some interest in Gurley. More probably a tournament play. I did like your idea, CK, of pairing him with Goff. I like Shady for maybe a GPP play. I think Tevin Coleman's going to be really popular this week at his price. I just can't play him. I don't love him on FanDuel when I can only use 2 running backs because I know I can't miss on my running backs. So I pretty much have the same idea I had last week, which is just play Ingram and Kamara both together. Like I said, they are the best player that we have in DFS. No matter what the game script, you know they're going to run the ball. The Saints are a running team. They're going to run the ball. They're going to throw the ball to Kamara. You don't know who's going in at what time of the game. You don't know who's getting the ball inside the 10. We don't know that because they use either of those guys and they don't care. So if you play them together, your floor here is between 25 and 30 points. Like if I told you you're going to play 2 running backs and you're going to get 30 fantasy points, you're going to be happy with that in cash games. So you're going to get 30 points from these guys. Like 5 out of the last 6 games, Ingram has gone off. And one game he scores 8 points. Well, Kamara had like 25 in that game. So together, they're a perfect player. If they're ahead in the fourth quarter, Ingram's going to get the ball a ton. If they're behind, like we saw last week, Kamara's going to be all over the field making plays. So regardless of game script, I love those guys. Hunt would be a great GPP play for me. His price has finally gone down where it should be now. They're just not using him right. I mean, when they were winning games, it was all about getting Hunt the ball 25 times a game. I don't know if it's because he's a rookie. For some reason, they don't trust him. They think he's going to wear out. I don't know what the hell Andy Reid is doing. But if he wants to get back on track, he's got to give him the ball sometime. And as we know, he's a home run hitter. I mean, he's not a guy that's just going to sit there and consistently churn out 5 or 6 yard gains. He's a guy that's going to break one for 60. That's what he was doing early in the year. It's not happening anymore. He's tournament only for me from here on out. But I do have a lot of interest in him in tournaments. That was pretty long, but
no, I like it, man. I like it. You know, Gaede, you don't get a ton of opportunities to speak, and so I like hearing you talk, man. You know, when we have those 4-man shows, I always have Gaede go last because like I know that a lot of times he could be quick with his words, like just naturally. So I know sometimes, man, like all Gaede have to say is I ain't got nothing to say. So I have him go last just because like if somebody runs long, I know Gaede will be the hammer to just like bam. So like now he's got an opportunity, man.
Dalton, nothing.
Nah, he's got an opportunity, man. Listen, it's the night before Thanksgiving. This is like the biggest party night like of the year for a lot of people, man. It's the night before Thanksgiving. Everybody's off tomorrow. People are out partying, but not us. You know why? Because we're all about the nation. And
That's
because we have no lives, because we play DFS every day.
We're trying to make money.
We're trying to
Everybody
make
else
money,
is out
man.
spending it. We're making it.
They're out spending it. We're in here. Exactly. Yeah, whatever we got to tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better about it. No, but in all seriousness, there's no place I'd rather be. I'm not big into that stuff anyway, man. I think that's all behind us, right? Like we've done it. Mistakes have happened. We're here, and it's like I'm cool here, man. This is where I want to be.
Obviously, there were mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, on DraftKings, it's definitely going to be, it's going to be tough to get all the way up to Gurley, considering that we do have both the Saint running backs a little bit cheaper. And I think you make a great point in GPPs. I think Hunt and Cash, it's just, I think we can see it now because of the snap count. It is going to be a little risky in a lot of situations. It's not this typical snap count of a typical Cash running back that we go after. But in tournaments, man, the great bounce back spot against the Bills. They're a team that, I still don't understand why they benched Tyrod for that guy. But Melvin Gordon had they not blown him out, Melvin Gordon would have crushed. He didn't even play a full game, and he put up big numbers. So I like the calls, man. I'm definitely with you guys at the top here. Anyway, are there any value running backs worth considering, Johnny?
I'm looking at, well, not value yet, but I'm looking at a little bit more than Tevin Coleman, as a pivot, and he's much more involved in the offense now. But Christian McCaffrey, I think he's a great play against the against the Jets this week. Jets are not a great defensive team. McCaffrey's very, very heavily involved ever since Benjamin's been, gone. Stewart doesn't really look too involved besides that touchdown last week. But other than that, McCaffrey looks like the guy there. I think he's getting more usage. He, is getting in the end zone, and I think he's building a great rapport with Cam. So I think that he's definitely a viable option on DraftKings at 6,900. And just everybody knows in the nation that I'm a GPP player, so I'm not stouting, or shouting out any cash plays here. I'm just purely giving you some plays I would play in tournaments.
Yeah, no, definitely. We want to hear the cash. We want to hear the tournaments. The nation wants to hear it all. Mr. Gaede, what about you? If coming down a tier, is there anybody in that section?
Man, it's obviously Coleman is the play on FanDuel. I mean, he's priced with Dion Lewis. So that's going to be the play. Yeah, I like McCaffrey. It's just a little tougher on FanDuel, with non-PPR. But Carlos Hyde's an interesting play for me still.
He's dirt cheap on DraftKings.
Yeah, he shredded Seattle last time. I mean, one way or another, he's going to get 20 touches in this game, whether it's receiving, whether it's handing him the ball. I don't know why the hell they're starting Beathard. Really wanted to see Garoppolo in this game, but Beathard throws him the ball a lot. Remember that. So on DK.
Remember the last week that there wasn't a lot of targets there, but Taylor's back this week and Kittle's back this week, so it will take a little bit of the usage away. I know I'm not going to be the narrative guy that they were Rube buddies or whatever in college. I don't give a crap.
Shower buddies. So that's
I know, I'm thinking butt buddies or whatever. But anyways, though, I'm really legitimately, Kittle's a good target, and I think that Hyde's going to run all over the Seattle. They're just beaten. They just let Freeman. What's his name? Dwight Freeney. They just let him go. They cut him. So I just don't see this defense doing anything. I don't know. I mean, I can definitely see Hyde being involved in passing the run. So he's only 55 on DraftKings. So I don't think he's a cash game play, but I think he's a great GPP play.
Yeah. No, that's a great price for him. I know the matchup ain't great, but it is a good price for a guy with his usage.
No, I think the matchup's great. I think Seattle is overrated. Their defense is hurting. They have no corners. I mean, again, they just let Dwight Freeney go. I mean, I don't know, man.
Having Chancellor out hurts the pass game and the run
Chancellor,
game,
and Sherman, and oh man, they're terrible.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think Chancellor's a blow, but I don't know how much I want to pick on Seattle on the ground. Because one thing that they've been pretty good at this year, I know there's some injuries, don't get me wrong. I know Chancellor's out, and that is a big hit. I'm not trying to downplay him. I just think that with Sherman out and the secondary the way it is, I just feel like you would want to just try attacking them through the air. No, I mean, and you would figure they should be playing from behind, right? There's nothing wrong with Seattle's offense, other than the way it runs sometimes.
Their offensive line is horrible. I mean, that's a big thing. I mean,
are you worried about the 49ers getting in there? You think the 49ers pass rush?
Atlanta got in there, and Atlanta can't do
Atlanta's
anything,
got a pass rush, though, man. Atlanta's got a better pass rush than the Niners, man.
Yes, but I mean, I think my old high school
and don't forget, Dan Quinn is the coach. He was the defensive coordinator there. He knows that team.
But I think my old high school team could put some pressure on them right now with that offensive line.
Yeah, you got to remember.
Fair enough.
Like the Niners pressure. I mean, it was a ridiculous pressure rate they had up in Seattle against them. The Niners have a young, athletic defensive line going against a bad offensive line. So, I mean, they've lost a few guys on that defense this year, obviously, but I mean, they're going to get pressure on him. But you know how Wilson is, man. Superman.
I feel like Wilson's better in pressure. You know what I mean? I feel like he's not very good when he's just standing around. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, the only thing I have to say on that is the first word out of your mouth with the 49ers defense was young. And when anybody ever says something young in the first word of anything, it means that they're not that good, but maybe they can become better.
Talented.
That's talented. I know the next is young talent. So
it's a nice way of saying they're not good right now, but they may be.
Yeah.
That is a nice way of saying it.
But you can say that about 90% of the NFL, right?
Right,
I mean,
no, that's true.
Well,
right?
they got 3 first-round defensive linemen out there. So in the last 3 years,
and I'm only giving you crap because you're a 49er homer, so I'm just giving you crap.
Buckner's one of the best inside interior defensive linemen in the league, and he gave him all kinds of shit the last time. He was all over him. So
yeah,
but
I was giving the 49ers some love. I was giving them some love. I think they can get in there. I think that they're gonna raise a little bit of havoc. I mean, Seattle's offensive line is just horrid. I mean, they're real bad.
I think the right tackle's out too. Whatever, some guy I never heard of, but they're starting right tackle Monday night. I think he's out too. So.
And they had 2 injuries on defense. I forgot who was on the Monday night game. They had 2 other new injuries. I mean, they're really hurting. I just think when somebody says the word Seattle and good defense right now, like, I think the Saints are better. I take the Saints over them. I take the Rams over them. I mean, they're way down there for me. So
yeah, right now especially after if you really look at the numbers. Especially on the road, they weren't really that great against the pass this year. Even before, I'm not saying that they were terrible. You didn't want to pick on them in DFS all the time, but like if you look, there wasn't the regular Seattle. Normally, you see them up there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They weren't up there. They were a little closer to like the mid level than I think people even realize, even without Sherman. So now you take Sherman and Chancellor out of the mix. It's I'm with you, man. I think they're going to get exposed at some point for sure. And Atlanta kind of did that. Now, I will say Atlanta, I do believe that Atlanta had a little bit of an edge considering Dan Quinn. He knows the system. That's something that's pretty legit. Like a coach that was that involved. He wasn't just like some side special teams coach. He was the defensive coordinator. So he played against that guy that team every day in practice. He knows them guys. Anyway, with that said, are there any value options or should we move over? Johnny, I'm going to start it with you. Any value guys or should we go to wide receiver?
Yeah, I mean, in DraftKings, I don't see a ton of cheap value or good value in that realm. Looking down here, nothing that's really catching my nothing that I'm willing to play right now at first glance.
Gotcha. Gaede, what about you? Anybody stand out value section? Running back?
Nothing that we haven't really talked about.
All right, one question I'm going to ask. This guy was the biggest chalk bust ever a couple weeks ago. Could be in line to be in the same spot. Yes, I'm going to homer out a little bit. I'm talking about my New York Jets. I'm talking about Bilal Powell. Busted huge couple weeks back, but it looks like Forte is still not practicing, so there's a chance that Forte could be out again. It looked like McGuire and him got supposedly a fair split, but it just looked like the other guy, McGuire, was just so much more effective that day, and he got a lot more of the pass work. Powell didn't get as much of the pass work as I thought he was going to get. GPP's only, obviously. I think everybody's given up on him on cash already. But Johnny, start us off. What are your thoughts on him as a GPP option, considering he just burnt everybody? It's still a bad matchup, in my opinion. It's Carolina, both coming off a bye.
Yeah, I'll pass.
Yeah.
I mean, burn me once. Shame on me. Burn me twice. Yeah, I'm good. I'm done.
I'm with it, man. I don't want nothing to do with it either. Gaede, what about you?
Let's just go on to the next question.
Let's do it. Let's move it on over to wide receivers. That's why Gaede goes last.
Man.
That's why Gaede goes last. I like that. All right, Johnny. Start us off with some wide receivers, my man.
Yeah, so in regards to Gaede liking some Dalton, I'm not a huge fan of the Cincinnati run game this week. But if you like Dalton and you want to pair him, AJ Green makes a great option. But he's the most expensive guy on the board. I don't know if I'm going to have a lot of him, but I might have a little bit here with him. Julio Jones interests me against Tampa. He hasn't had that big game yet. He's 7,700. Tampa Bay is horrible against the pass, so I definitely like that. Going down a little bit further, I'm off Mike Evans. It just seems like Fitzpatrick is just not using him right. He's just not throwing the deep ball to him. I don't know if it's just the old age or Fitzpatrick doesn't have the arm anymore or what, but he's not getting the ball to Evans. I'm off of Mike Thomas. I've never really been a big Mike Thomas fan, but I think that the only two viable options are the running backs over in the New Orleans situation. Cook's a viable option against Miami. The only problem that I have with all of the pieces in New England is who is Tom Brady going to throw it to, and he spreads the ball out way too much. I know last week was a Cook's week, and he had a huge game, but Gronk had a no-show game, and there's a lot of other plays that didn't come up, like the Rex Burkhead play. So I just think that the problem I have with the Patriots is every week Tom Brady can throw to a new guy, and there's so many people in that offense, with Bennett there again and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'm going to be off of the passing game there. I think the only play I would do would be the Brady naked. I don't think I would take any of his receivers with them. I like Doug Baldwin a little bit. It just really comes down to the game script, and what news we hear. But Baldwin had a horrible game on Monday. If it wasn't for that touchdown towards the end of the game, he would have really been a bust. I like Tyreek Hill this week. If the weather's going to be okay, there's no winds, no more wind games. Buffalo's very exploitable against pass. They're exploitable against everything, but I like them a lot. Do we have any news on Cutler this week?
Last I heard he was still in concussion protocol.
I don't know yet. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll break down the Miami receivers real quick for you. Okay, if Cutler's in, you want to play Parker or Landry. If Cutler's not in, it's Matt Moore. You want to play Kenny Stills. That's it on the receivers. So I'll break those down real quick. I like T.Y. Hilton this week. I like him better at home, but I don't like his price at 6,700. But I do think he's a viable option. And if we can figure out what receiver is going to be the guy in the Rams offense this week, maybe it's going to be a Cup or something like that. Or if it's just all going to go to Gurley, we can think about that one. But I'll leave it to Gaede to go down the rest.
Okay, Gaede, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you on most of those guys. Julio is always so damn tempting because his price is so low, but they disappoint you in the end. So Baldwin's a good call. I faded him on the primetime game, and he cost me a lot of money with that last touchdown. So, anyways, I like Cooks. Again, I'm a little worried, though, because you don't know, like you said, Johnny, you don't know where Brady's going to throw the ball. He's going to throw it to somebody. So he's always Brady's always fine to play naked because of that. You don't know where the ball's going to go. But I do like Cooks. It looks like, if you start looking at his targets, like 9, 11, 8, the last 3 games, that's pretty solid. I'm with you on T.Y., too. I like T.Y. It's a little pricey, though, is the problem there. And, he's been boom or bust, totally boom or bust. Really, from what I see, I don't think Cutler is going to play, and I hope he doesn't because my number one receiver on FanDuel is Stills. He's 5,600. He's like a free square. If you look at the research on this, with Matt Moore at quarterback, Kenny Stills is a top 5 wide receiver in the league. So you should have 100% exposure to Kenny Stills if Matt Moore is playing. This is look what he did in the second half when he came in. Yeah. If you played Kenny Stills last week, you won. It doesn't matter. Who else you play doesn't matter. The guy absolutely went off, and it's because Matt Moore's throwing him the ball.
Mm-hmm. You know what's amazing? I just have to say real quick, what's amazing is this is our first show together, and we're not on every play together, and you're a cash game guy. I'm a tournament guy. And our outtakes on like Kenny Still on some of these plays are like exactly the same. It's just hilarious.
Yeah,
it's great.
We must be looking at the same stuff, man.
Yeah, man.
Just a couple other guys that I like. I like Mohamed Sanu a lot.
We talked about him before the show. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about him. Like he's 5'8" on FanDuel. Obviously, he's not the number one target in that offense, but they're always looking at Julio. The defense is always focused on Julio. So Sanu at 5'8", like if I play Sanu at 5'8" and Stills at 5'6", I can get anybody else I want. And we know that
on DraftKings only 5,200.
Yeah, so
it's a little bit
if
cheaper
you're paying
there.
down for two receivers, you can do what else you want, and we know that the way to win is paying down at receiver. That's just the way it's been this year. And then I do like Cooper Kupp also. Again, dirt cheap, man. I don't see how he doesn't pay off. How is he not going to get 3x for you at his price? So
yeah,
I felt a little winded, but.
In that situation for me, looking at it, I am seeing that Lattimore did not practice today on Wednesday. He didn't practice. So if Lattimore is in, definitely going to push me more towards Kupp. If Lattimore is out, I think I want Watkins because I don't have too much faith in the rest of their guys. And like if you think about who's going to come in and kind of fill Woods' role, it's got to be Gurley, number one, some of those shorter pass, screen routes to Gurley, and then two, Watkins. Like I don't know if wouldn't you want Watkins over Kupp if you were going to run those little screen plays? I feel like he's the guy that's got to break out speed. So like that's my initial reaction. But it's obviously still too early to know if Lattimore's actually going to play or not. Like he's their best quarterback, so they could just be taking it easy if he's it's Thanksgiving. Who knows? You know what I mean?
All right. I got a question for you, for both of you guys. Okay. I'm gonna give you three guys in the same price tier.
Okay.
And you tell me what you think. Okay. And I'll give you the scenario here. So we got Cooper Kupp at 5,000. Okay. We got Watkins at 4,900. Or we got Kenny Stills. If Matt Moore's in, he's only 4,800. Who do you take?
Kenny Stills.
So that's the issue, is that they're so all priced together that why would you not just take Stills?
Oh, because I would take both and load up at running back, baby. Gurley's 8-8 this week, baby.
Well, there you go.
There this week.
Load up on that RB.
Well, if you take all three of them, you can load up what I was talking about earlier. So.
That's true. That's a good point. Put them in the play both the Saints running backs. Put them in the flex. I like it, Johnny. We're on to something there, baby. We're on to something.
There you go. There you go.
I like it, guys. One other guy I'll ask you about, just because people like to talk about the revenge narrative. I know in football, I'm not big on this at all. Basketball only, pretty much for me. But I'm going to say it anyway. Alshon Jeffrey, it's not in Chicago. He is at home, but he is hosting his Chicago Bears. Just one of the initial takes. He's 6'3". He's come down a little bit from 6'6" he was last week. Johnny, what do you think?
Man, I'm just not a big fan of that Philadelphia receiving core. There's just too many guys. Yeah, I mean, there's Ertz. They got Selleck. They have Torrey Smith. They have Aguilar, and they have Jeffrey. I mean, it's just too much. And now you got a Gaede who can catch the ball out of the backfield. And he's gonna take touches there too. So I just think it's too much going on there.
I hear you. Gaede, what about you? Same thing? Too many mouths?
Yeah, I mean it is. But he's also got 26 targets the last 3 games. FanDuel points 15, 23, and 16. I like that. He's priced up a little bit. I'm not gonna play him because I forgot to put him in the narrative article, and now I'm pretty pissed off about that. Because it didn't ring a bell for me. So yeah, I'm good. I won't play him.
I just realized that when I was saying the narrative stuff, you were probably like, "Who the hell is he talking about?"
Oh, I was pissed. As soon as you said it, I was like, "Damn, I got Gabbert, man. That was the big one."
Oh, that was funny. All right, let's move it over to tight end. Johnny the Greek.
I got a couple. I got a couple more plays here. I just want to throw out there really quick.
Let's hear it.
I'm not going to say these are guys I'm going to play, but I'm just looking at it. I know the matchup's not the greatest at Denver, but I think Denver's defense is really hobbled right now. Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper, criminally underpriced on DraftKings. $5,500 for Crabtree, $5,400 for Cooper, and then Fitzgerald at $5,600. I understand the Jacksonville Jaguars are great against the long ball. They're not a great guy. They're not great in the on defense against the slot. I think Fitzgerald at 5,600 is of steal too. So you got three guys that are just way underpriced there. I don't know what you guys think.
Interesting, Gaede. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that sounds good. Fitzgerald is not underpriced on FanDuel at 7,200. I'm not playing anybody at that price against Jackson. The two Oakland receivers at 7 and at 6'9". I mean, they went down a little bit, but that's still not a great price. FanDuel price. Yeah, the DK price is a lot better for those guys.
Oh, yeah, 5,400, 5,500.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it looks like so far to me, it looks like our strategy to go double running back from the Saints and maybe throwing Gurley in the flex and go cheap at wide receiver. There's a lot of options.
It's true.
Yeah, there is.
It's true. There's a lot of ways you can take it. Absolutely. Both Cooper and Crabtree. I know it's Denver, but they haven't looked great. They have not looked great defensively at all. And Carr has been a lot better at home. The whole reason I jumped off of Carr last week is because I looked at I was like, this guy has never done anything away from his stadium. He just hasn't.
Yeah.
One guy I'll throw out there in that same game, Demaryius Thomas. I think Paxton Lynch is supposed to get the start this week. The Raiders, we know they're terrible. Are they maybe they're a little bit better at home? It's just his first start, although he did play a little bit last year. I'm talking about Paxton Lynch. And of course, Demaryius Thomas is 5'7". Any thoughts there? Johnny, start with you.
Run away. He might get traded. They are shopping him around. They say that he doesn't fit the system, so he's lost a lot of weight, strength because of his vegan diet that he went on. So they're not happy with him. So they say that the insiders are saying that he's going to be traded in the offseason, if not traded sometime this season.
DT?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Good insight. Gaede, anything to say after that?
I'll take him.
Yeah, I'm 49ers. I'm sure you would. I'm sure the 49ers would love to have him.
Yeah, I don't know what they're bitching about. He scores a touchdown every week. So, I mean, what do you want him to do?
He's catching touchdown passes from Brock Osweiler and freaking, what's his name?
Well, I played him 2 weeks in a row in cash because I know Osweiler's just going to feed him. And I don't think he had a zero. Had a goose egg at halftime, and I was pissed.
Oof.
But then he comes back with like 15 or 16 points in the second half. But
well, the problem that they're having there is that they're saying that the production is his fault, but they're not looking at the quarterback and the coaching staff. Yeah. They got shit quarterbacks. They got crap coaches. I mean, what do you expect the guy? I mean, the guy's talented. Yeah. Well, who's going to throw him the fucking ball?
I can tell you who's not going to throw it to him: Paxton Lynch. So don't play.
He's not a good
player. Man. We're not doing it this way.
Fair enough. I like it. Johnny, take us over to tight ends, my man.
All right, let's take a look here. Way at the top, you got Travis Kelce. He's always in play, but he's 7,300. He is the unicorn. He is the highest spend on this slate. A little bit cheaper. You got Gronkowski. I don't know if there's a question mark here. He missed practice because of illness on Wednesday, so
he's hungover.
He's good. He's hungover. I love that one. So he's in play. If you're looking at the question mark tags, I always like the question mark tags going on a player before the game, just because a lot of ownership will be down. A lot of the DFS community is afraid of those red Qs and Os, and they don't want to mess with that. A lot of people are set the lineup kind of on Friday and forget it. I mean, that's why you see a lot of dead lineups still when it comes to DFS on football days. So. I like that play. Ertz put up a stinker last week. I'm off Ertz this week, even though it's against Chicago. I'm not really big on that play. I like Jimmy Graham a lot. I think Jimmy Graham. There's a questionable tag there on him. I don't know what it is, but I'm not. I've been big on him. He had a really good game last game out against Atlanta. I think that he's kind of becoming Russell Wilson's go-to guy. He's been a little bit more reliable lately than Baldwin has. So I like that play. Going a little bit further, you can definitely interest me in some Jared Cook at 4,600 against Denver, who's one of the worst teams against tight ends. And then Jack Doyle at 4,500. I like that against Tennessee. That Tennessee is not a great. It's not great against tight ends or receivers. So. If Brissett plays, you might want to be able to pair those guys up. That might be a good play. And then going down a little bit further, Tyler Kroft against Cleveland, 3,900. I think that's probably looks like my number one play right now. I love that price. I love the matchup. Unless we look a little further down to Bennett. I like Bennett in the New England offense, and he's only 2,800. So those are two value guys for you as well.
Okay. Gaede, tight ends, what you got?
All right, man. We're paying up for running back. We're paying down a receiver. Paying down a tight end. So I'm not going to talk about those top guys. I'm going to try to play them. I think there's other guys at the bottom. I think you mentioned everybody I have. You said you don't like Walker. I don't mind Walker. He's got 9 targets in each of the last 2 games, but I just don't trust him. I don't trust his quarterback. Let me say that. I like Jack Doyle a lot. I think Brissett's going to be back from everything that I've seen. And you know what Doyle's going to do. And whatever happened that last game, he had 1 catch. So people are going to be like, oh, yeah, he sucks. They're going to be off of him. All that recency bias. I love him a lot on FanDuel at 5,700. I do like Jared Cook as well, right below him at 5.5. Denver gets torched by tight ends. I don't see a whole lot else. I do like Kroft. That was a good call. Cleveland gets shredded by tight ends. He doesn't get a lot of targets, but I think he could see some elevated targets. McCourty may or may not cause some problems for A.J. Green. So if he does, then Kroft could see some more targets, and he's always a guy that gets red zone targets. So I like that call too. Right now, my top guy is Doyle, though, for cash games on FanDuel.
I mean, I think Walker's a good player in general. I just don't like the system that they're playing with him, and I just don't like the target. Like, not all targets are created equal. Like, everybody's always got 10 targets, 9 targets, but if you overthrow him by 20 yards, you underthrow him by 20 yards, or you throw it out of bounds or whatever. If you throw it in his vicinity, they call that a target. So I think something that's a little overrated, and you can definitely see that with Julio. There's like Julio, 14 targets, but how many of those were actually catchable? Like, I don't know if you watched some of the end zone plays this week, but some of those were just not catchable balls. So I don't really go into that too much. I just go in by the visual, by the eye check, and I just don't like that offense system. I don't like what they're doing over there. And also because you have guys like Doyle, that's only 4,500, he's $500 less than Walker, and you got Jared Cook at 4,600, and then you got Kroft at 3,900. He's criminally underpriced. Why would you pay up for Walker? It just makes no sense, And you don't. And Walker's not a naked play. Yeah, and Walker's not a naked play. You want to play him with. Yeah, absolutely. And you want to play Walker with Mariota. And I don't think either one of us have any interest in Mariota this week.
Nada.
Okay, fair enough. Any other tight ends?
I think that's a lot. Maybe Kittles and Bits, but that's it.
Kittles and Bits. There we go. All right. Let's talk about we'll talk about defenses first, and then Gaede, maybe we could touch on some kickers just for the FanDuel players. We'll do that at the end. I know you play a little bit of FanDuel. Well, Johnny, you play some FanDuel too, so I guess you could talk about it as well. So let's talk about defenses first, though, because everybody needs a defense. Only FanDuel players need the end stuff. So, what you got for defenses, Johnny?
Well, Jaguars are always in play. They're playing against Arizona this week. The only thing is it's on the road, so that's a slight downtick for them. But Arizona's sloppy, so I think that they're viable. Bengals are definitely in play. 3,900 on DraftKings. They're playing against Cleveland. Those are the 2 highest priced. Don't look at the Seahawks at all. I know they're playing San Francisco. $3,800 is way too much money for that. Do we know if Tyrod Taylor is starting for sure this week?
Yes.
Because I know that
he's starting. Yeah,
he is. Okay, so then I wouldn't play the Chiefs. Eagles defense is in play against the horrible Chicago offense. Patriots. I mean, I'm not a big fan of their defense in general, but they're in play against Miami because Miami's horrible. Panthers are in play because Jets are horrible. I know. Sorry, CK, but they're horrible.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good, brother. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, let's look a little further down here. You could take a flyer on Atlanta. I have not liked what I've seen out of Fitzgerald. You could take a flyer on them, and that's all I'm seeing. Maybe, and yeah, no, that's all I'm seeing right now. I gotta dig a little bit deep.
Okay, Mr. Gaede, defenses, who pops out to you?
Yeah, I mean it's Jacksonville number one against Blame Gabbert. So, dude, they hate that guy, man. They hate him. They're gonna bust him up, but I'm not paying that much. Just like I wasn't gonna pay for him last week. FanDuel wise, Cincinnati will be. They've got to be the top cash game defense, just because of the matchup. People see they're playing Cleveland, and that's who you're gonna play. I'm swinging the other way to Philly as my top defense at home against a rookie, an offense that doesn't scare anybody. Like, there's no scary dudes out there. They should have a field day. Eagles are going to be way up, and then it's just unleash those pass rushers. So you should get a bunch of sacks, turnovers. Like what we talked about last week, though, with Joe, and it's a really good point. Like, maybe you should start your lineup with your defense. Like, people need to research these defenses and get the right one. Like, we gave you the defense last week. Everybody on the show said, don't be stupid, play the Chargers, right? And then I get in Sunday, and you had like 40% ownership on the Jags at $1,300 higher than the Chargers, and the Chargers end up giving you 25 points, and they're at the very bottom of the list at 4-3 on FanDuel. Like, you gotta play the right defense, and maybe start with that. I don't start with the kicker, but I'm gonna start with the defense and get that figured out. I'm not looking at any high-priced defenses unless I absolutely think I have to, because there's always mid-tier plays that end up being the best play.
Yeah,
we give it to you here. We tell you who it is.
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys. Definitely was a great call last week at the Chargers. D. It was definitely most of the nation was on it. Great call on the podcast as well. I'm with it, man. I'm with it.
Yeah, I got in like all these cash games I'm in, and I'm looking at them, and they're all the same, like 35-40% Jacksonville, and the Chargers are under 25% on everything. Like, just give me your money. Fine.
I hear it. Let's touch up on some kickers, and we'll get up out of here. Johnny, you want to go first?
Let me open up. Let's come back to me. Let me open it up real quick.
Open up the old FanDuel machine.
FanDuel.
You start us off.
All right. It's pretty simple. If they're playing in a dome or in a place where it's warm and they're going to score points, play that kicker. That's fine. Don't play these guys in the cold. Like last week, I was struggling with my construction a little bit. I had nothing. And I'm like, okay, Nick Novak, he's playing for the Chargers. They're playing in a warm weather. Their point total's okay. He drops like 17, 18 points, man. Easy money. So don't pick guys that are playing in the cold. A guy like Vinatieri at 4-7, he's playing inside. That game's probably going to get kind of crazy. I like that as a cheaper kicker. Go up. I guess you could play suck up in that game. There's not a ton of stuff. Like Matt Bryant obviously would be a great play if you're able to pay up that high. The Rams kickers, Zerline and Lutz for the Saints, like those guys, obviously. Gostkowski's always going to be good for you. I'm always looking in the middle or at the bottom to find somebody because I want that extra money. So it's all about weather conditions for me and point totals.
Gotcha. Johnny,
Get those together.
What you got?
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. I'm having a little trouble here with it. Okay, cool. A little slow here. So, yeah, I like everything that you had to say with that. Might kind of add a little bit to it is you want to look at the odds too in Vegas, the lines, and you want to look at the spreads. You don't want to take a kicker in like the really low spread games. You don't want to take in those kind of. You want to be in a higher scoring affair. You want to have more opportunity for points. So definitely kind of look at that as well. So. Games I'm looking at here, I think Lutz is in a great position. Zerline is in a great position. I like Kansas City's kicker. He doesn't miss. Buckner. Butker. There we go. I like him a lot. I like Matt Bryant always. Those are the guys I would go with this week.
I like it. It sounds like you guys are in similar situations. You want places where the kickers can actually kick in nice conditions. And you're typically indoors this time of year. And you want high totals. If it's a high total, it means a lot of points. If there's a lot of points, good chance kicker's going to get some of those points. And even from a floor standpoint, they'll at least be getting extra points, even if the team's getting touchdowns. So it's better than a 0. So I'm with it, guys. This was fun, man. This was cool. First look, I definitely feel like I have an edge. Obviously, tomorrow, guys, for WiseTake members only, we're doing a Wise stream for Thanksgiving. That's at 10 o'clock in the morning. And it'll be left on the site all the way up and through the slate. But this Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern, you can catch Johnny the Greek's final takes, as well as some of the other guys over at WiseTake.com on the NFL Wise stream for Week 12. That'll be Saturday, 2 p.m. You'll catch Johnny the Greek on there giving his final takes after he's done all his research. Again, guys, this is a first look just to get you guys thinking, to get us thinking, so that we're prepared throughout the week. Because, again, Thanksgiving's exciting. I know it's on all of our minds. We're hungry. We're excited. Thanksgiving, football, awesome slate. It's phenomenal. But we still have to be prepared come Sunday if we want to make that money. So Johnny, Slim, Gaede, appreciate you guys coming on here with me tonight on this Wednesday night, the big party night. You guys could have been anywhere, man. You could have been at the clubs. You could have been down there doing your thing, man. You could have been down at the strip clubs making it rain, but instead you're here for the nation with me, getting everybody.
Hey, it's we're
here for you. We're here for you guys. That's what's
up.
We're
here for you. We're here for you, but it's only 9:30 here at my time, so I still have plenty of time.
Yeah, Johnny's not. He was like, man, screw you guys. I'm going. I'm out. I love it. I love it. All right, guys, don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. It means a lot to us, man. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. If you're listening on iTunes, give us some 5-star reviews. Bump us up those charts, man. We do this for you. The least you can do is give us a little bit of reviews on iTunes. It helps us out. Don't forget, check out WiseTake.com. We got the promotion going. Got awesome content, awesome stuff. Plenty of stuff on the YouTube channel to check out and convince you that what we have behind the paywall is worth it. So for Johnny, for Slim, for myself, and the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.
Peace.
Yes.